going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check. We're going to talk about Survivor Series, Wargames, and maybe a little bit of Turning Point, and that is Jake fucking DeMarco. What's going on, buddy?
Holy hell, what a week. I mean, we are just DIing it into our DNA with this week, but I'm telling you somehow
He's making fun
survived.
of me because I've had a shit week and I had to do DEI training, folks. If you're not picking up on all the jokes, Spaz has had a hell of a week. Spaz is enjoying his Smirnoff. Spaz and Jake are going to preview the fuck out of Survivor Series.
I got a kitchen full of food and hands cut up from cutting said food, so I'm ready to go.
I'm close enough that I'm observing Thanksgiving by proxy as a Canadian, but
absolutely, yeah, you're 51st state, so like you said,
it is. It's very true. So I will start off not only for my co-host Jake, obviously, and all of your family and all your friends and whatnot, but everybody else out there listening from America, I hope your Thanksgiving is fantastic. It's the greatest.
It's
glorious.
like Thanksgiving one and all. Because as
fantastic orange turkeys. It's amazing.
We're tuned in on Thanksgiving night. That's right, to go ahead and talk everything that is Survivor Series, possibly Turning Point, and a few other glorious topics at hand. One of which that I'm really excited to kick off the pod with, as you mentioned earlier. Yep. We have passed a year and a couple of days now since the triumphant return of one Cookie Monster Punk to WWE. And, you never say never, but I honestly didn't picture Punk to go back until, maybe I didn't see him wrestling. I pictured him coming back many, many years later,
like
the
Hall
Ultimate War. Yes, Hall of Fame, something like that. And then they'd bury the hatchet. But AEW was there at the perfect time to bring him back in when he wanted to wrestle. He got the bug. He felt it. They brought him in, and from that Rampage till its death, at the end of this year, Rampage is no more. But holy hell, I did not fathom they would push him into WWE's arms like they did.
For all the shit that we throw at AEW, and there's a lot. Stop being a dick to Ricky Starks and Phoenix.
Starks especially, my God.
Well, yeah, and GCW and the whole fucking bit. That's why I'm saying we should have somebody from GCW show up in the Rumble. I think that would be fucking amazing.
That would be fire.
Another story for another day. But I will say, they did give him the platform to do a couple of cool things while he was in AEW. Him basically cutting his Welcome Back to Wrestling promo, immediately calling out Darby Allin. They did some cool stuff. I will still say to this day, if I have a favorite feud in AEW, it's him and MJF. I think what they did was fantastic, and because of how the opinions have switched on CM Punk now, I think people intentionally ignore it, which is terrible.
Yeah, because
it's one of the
MJF had the best feud.
The thing is, he's one of their poster boys still. He's got it written on his ankle, supposedly. That's definitely not a fake tattoo.
No, certainly not.
But even if you're a fan of MJF, if you erase CM Punk, you're erasing one of the coolest things he did in that company. So you're not even helping MJF.
No, you're really not. And the thing is, like you said, it's just, oh my God, because of the layers of storytelling they had there. Where this was my favorite, my favorite wrestler. You left when I needed you the most. I was being made fun of. I was being bullied for being Jewish. I mean, they went there with it, and they really made you not become sympathetic with the heel, but you understood the evolution, and it was kind of cool to have that story. They didn't go as far as to humanize him yet.
You're an asshole, but you're an asshole for a reason.
Yes.
But you're still an asshole.
Exactly. We can see why you're an asshole, but goddamn are you an asshole, and you are one spectacular asshole.
Sitting ground level at Scotiabank Arena the night before Forbidden Door, and it was I'm going to get it wrong. The Bullet Club Gold taking on him and Ricky Starks, ironically.
Yes.
And FTR in that great 4-on-4 match. And I have people that have followed me on Twitter know I have this one amazing shot that I managed to get of just Punk and Jay White squaring off just before they locked up. And it's probably one of the favorite pictures I've ever taken at a wrestling show.
Yeah, it is fucking spectacular.
But, no, we did do some good stuff there, and it's one of those, you got to believe that there was a little bit of, he said fuck WWE, he said fuck wrestling, and then when AEW became the competitor, you got to believe there was a little bit, because Punk's not always the nicest guy.
No.
So there was a little bit of fuck WWE with him signing with AEW.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
And-
he made promos as such,
Of
and
course.
he didn't go all out like other people to challenge WWE, but he said, "Fuck where I came from. They don't
Yeah.
know how to."
But there's a little bit
handle
as well.
anybody.
There's a little bit as well of everybody in AEW kind of does that.
Yes.
It used to be the thing we used to slate TNA for, because they were really bad for it. Bring in Mr. Kennedy here and call him Mr. Anderson and let him cut a promo on where he used to be. Same thing with...
You do want to mention the Voodoo Kin Mafia, right?
oh, my
Like,
God.
We just brought some cookies. We just wanted to bring you guys some cookies. Cookiegate. We're gonna sue you for taking footage of Rey Mysterio without his mask on. I wonder why. A little cease and desist, but hey.
But yeah, so it's one of those where, like, yeah, there was probably a little bit of fuck WWE with him signing with AEW, but I think WWE had a little bit of fuck AEW in signing CM Punk.
Oh,
so
certainly.
it all comes full circle. It's like,
And especially the way that it came together. I mean, Survivor Series was already booked in Chicago. People kept making jokes because Punk was kind of like playing into it, but a lot of no one really thought it was going to be a full possibility.
Well,
like,
I will say there
we
was
did guess that
ages and ages ago, back when Takeover was still a thing. There was a Wargames / Survivor Series weekend, and I did the preview with Kristen, and I started off the pod with, for those of you that remember Black Hat Feline, old co-host on the show. Hope she's doing well. Haven't talked to her in quite a bit, but that's mostly because I'm an asshole.
And life is busy.
And life is busy as well. But, no, it's like, it's in Chicago. We should at least acknowledge the possibility. She's like, no, Spaz. No, Spaz. No, we don't. We don't have to acknowledge it. We don't have to acknowledge the people that think it's a thing. And then, like, took 7 years or whatever, but it's actually a thing now.
But now it's a thing, yeah. And it happened in such a way. I mean, that one random fan almost felt like a plant. The guy that grabbed him screaming Chicago.
Oh, the Chicago.
Like, I mean,
well,
you had the
I would
crying
say
fan.
I would
when
say he was a
came back.
plant. I would say he was a plant, but like there is a point where Punk kind of does like a burst with his hands up in the air, but it kind of looked like he was trying to get away from that guy a little bit.
Get off me a little bit, but
not get off of me. It's just like maybe he smelled something. Maybe the guy had a few too. I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but just maybe he clocked that the guy had a couple too many. Maybe I'm just going to distance myself a little bit. I'm happy you're happy, but
it was still awesome. It was a hell of a moment, and it couldn't have been mic'd up in time better. So
no,
I loved his reintroduction.
The backstage thing that they put up on YouTube this week was pretty cool.
That was amazing to see all of the extras and
the fact that
everybody
he literally just walked into the
gorilla.
building, so they had to tell him, hey, when you walk out there's going to be 2 shark cages. Just walk past those because that's where the lights are.
Yeah, this is where you got to go. This is where we're going to have you. He's like, this is what you need to do, and you're on. Yeah. And that was basically it. I mean, that was all of it. They brought him in, and they're like, okay, by the way, you're on, and there you go.
Yep.
And that was all of it. I mean, they went ahead and
remember
Bob's your uncle.
Because
it's time to go.
People that listen to What Culture know that I listen to What Culture quite a bit, and they used to do the watch-alongs, not so much anymore, but now we got the Wrestling for Life guys, who are awesome. But I was watching, and it was the perfect combination of people, because it was Wilborn and Hamflet.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're the ones that are as dramatic as we are. And it's like, all right, everybody, let's get the fuck out of here before they realize Punk isn't coming. Wait. And then they just, like, lost it
I mean,
screen.
Seeing Ollie and the Wrestle Talk guys, like, practically cry. Like, that was a great moment to see that, come to fruition for them. And, like, Ollie being one of the biggest Punk fans, I was like, holy hell, this is great to see.
Well, the thing about it is, like, there's people that like Punk and there's people that don't, and there's a lot of jokes I could throw in with that, but, it's what you get from being a polarizing character, because a lot of the things that we like in wrestling, and I don't want to get on my soapbox or anything like that, but like, oh, I really like what that guy does in the ring. Oh, I really like his promo style. I really like his character.
Yeah.
If you like CM Punk, you like Phil Brooks. You like the Phil Brooks story. You like what brought Phil Brooks over here, what brought Phil Brooks over here, and because he's that kind of, like, I don't want to say agitator because it sounds like a buzzword, but because he
is known to rile feathers, yes.
Yeah. So what he does in the fiction of the wrestling is, I'm hesitant to say it this way, it's almost irrelevant. Because we want to see what Phil Brooks, the guy, is doing because he's that guy.
And he's been that guy for some time now. And I think it all really came down to that podcast. I mean, think about it. Roman Reigns was not hated until Punk really came out and said, make Roman look strong. I mean, that caused a real tide of turn on Roman, because it was 2014 when Punk left. That podcast came out right before the Rumble. It was like December 2014, right before 2015. And that's when people really got sick of the Roman Reigns push. Yeah. And God, did we know what we were in for the next 10 years.
But you know what it is, though, as well? And, like, Punk's a wordy guy. He's a good speaker. He's an engaging speaker, all those types of things. I think what he did was he put words to what a lot of us were feeling about Roman Reigns back then. The character, not the person behind the character.
Yeah,
it wasn't creative Joe. Direction. It was the creative direction, right? I think a lot of us knew what we wanted to say.
Yeah.
Well, we knew what we wanted to say about it, or we knew how we felt about it. Punk gave it words.
Yeah, and we had kind of already chosen our guys, in Dean and Seth. So
it was like, what do we say? We go back to Money in the Bank. Was it 2011 in Chicago? Is the first time, probably not the first time, but the first time it was sort of like crystallized that this is not good guy versus bad guy. This really isn't even about a title. It made you. I mean, it was entirely manufactured by WWE.
Yes, no
doubt. But it was the first sort of thing where they sort of let it run as a fans versus the company match. Because the company wanted Cena, we wanted Punk. They let us believe that we were going against them.
Yeah,
and that's why that match, even if they went and laid a Duke in the ring that night, that's why that match will always be awesome.
Yes, no doubt about it, and that's why it had such a special place for us, indeed. And
of course, there's been so many problems since he's been back.
I know. Literally, I mean, he's helped out so many people in the back, in the locker rooms, in NXT. I mean, he has just been a nuisance everywhere. Shawn Michaels must be fucking miserable.
After Shawn Michaels is done throwing Eddie Thorpe around, he's going to go a couple of rounds with CM Punk.
I like that people are actually, and we'll get into it a bit more, but, people are predicting, like, hey, is this Shawn's return to the ring with the Thorpe stuff? And it is interesting. I kind of intrigued a bit with what they did. It's kind of dumb in the sense of,
like, no, you could just turn around and say, yeah, somebody else bumped into the door, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, it is kind of that specific.
But all the miscommunication and everything that he's argued about so far with them and him. You know
what I like? I like the people on Twitter, and I kind of thought the same thing, but I'm like, I'm not going to say it. I'll be nice for once. Like, Ava got bumped into the door and fell down, and she was still down after the break. It's like, Ava sold for the door better than anybody on the AEW roster.
Yes. They came back and she was still sitting down.
Talk about people that get unnecessary hate. Fucking Ava. What the hell did she do? Other than be related to The Rock.
That's it. That was her nepotism at its finest.
Well, they took her out of the ring when they realized that wasn't her strong suit, and they gave her a different role. And you're gonna pretend like you watched the show.
And they tried something at least with Schism and the whole thing there with Gacy and.
But it's what WWE, and we're gonna go off on a tangent, I know. But I always go to Corey Graves. Corey Graves is a really sad example. Corey Graves wasn't literally able to wrestle anymore, and now he's one of the most important cogs in the commentary wheel, other than Michael Cole, I would say.
Oh, absolutely.
Now that's partially because he commentates to my taste, and I know he's not everybody's taste.
He's not everybody's cup of tea, but he certainly works for what they're
Pat
going.
McAfee is the same thing as well. Like, he grabs a particular audience, but that's good. If people have an opinion of you, good or bad, then you've at least created some character. It's not like Aubrey Edwards as a referee trying to make the match about her.
Exactly.
I'm going to stop, I promise. But anyway, 1 year on...
I mean, you think about it, that podcast, everything that it led to, everything that it created, everything that it caused... And the breadth of...
Are you talking about the Colt Cabana one or the more recent one?
Yes,
the Colt Cabana one, yeah.
Yes. And what that led to, I mean, my God, it really turned the tide of WWE for a while. Mm-hmm. I mean, everything kind of just went to shit. And Vince's, hey, I'm going to be here with Laurinaitis. Everything about the pipe bomb that he said, it all just came to fruition, or at least came to... Some form of fruition, yeah. Yeah, and Vince...
What I love about this, and I know I cut you off, I'm sorry.
No.
But, and I'm sorry, I'm going to point out the hypocrisy. People got their knives and forks out to eat it up when he went on Colt Cabana's podcast to shit on WWE. then,
and he was a scorned, lover.
He was, and I think he admitted it
unfairly, but he did. He was always
like,
honest.
I'm gonna be out here and rant and be a dick, but like that's how he goes. I'm sorry, really really shitty example. Johnny Depp at the Amber Heard trial. I'm not here to say I'm a fucking angel. I just didn't do what she said I did. Also, she's a cunt, and she inspired Nikki Bella. Moving on. But the point being, they got, knives and forks, let's all shit on WWE. All of a sudden, goes on Ariel Helwani's thing. People start popping off out of it. I'm at work because I actually have a job.
And the Ariel Helwani podcast was great too for what it did.
And it was really relaxed. It wasn't even as No. I mean, he didn't have as much of a time to talk about.
No,
he
really didn't.
But it was one of those things, when you see the reaction, and the more reactions you see, the more you're like, I need to see this.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, this is going to be Art of Wrestling, the sequel.
Yes.
And it wasn't really.
It did for a little bit. I mean, it certainly led to a lot of things changing with AEW and how they book things. Mm-hmm. Tony not trusting people.
I just mean he didn't come out as venomous. He wasn't nearly as sarcastic as he was in the Colt Cabana. Now, that's because he was talking to somebody who at the time was his friend. He wasn't in a studio doing an interview. But like, he came out with a lot of positive praise for a lot of people. He just crapped on a company that crapped on him. And all of a sudden, when it was AEW, I'm sorry to say, but that became the bad thing all of a sudden.
A failing company with a shit creative with some bad choices.
Bad ideas from bad creative.
But
it's okay. They have CM Punk. Or they have, what's his name? The one that everybody else hates, and I love him for making them hate him.
Jericho?
Yes. Jericho and Ishii. Match at the retirement home for the title.
God, I don't know if you saw any of Dynamite last night.
I did.
But it was a slog to get through. I mean, so many. I was talking with Spaz. At some points you and I had mentioned like, what the hell is this? All right, I can get behind this a little bit. Mm-hmm. But last night, every bit of everything that was booked was just so fucking stupidly baffling.
I love how much everybody hates Jericho, and I know that's me, the WWE guy, watching AEW fall down. But like, I
couldn't blame the hate last night. That was bad.
No. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying I'm laughing a lot.
Yes.
It's the me laughing at Deluxe Man over Daniel Bryan, Sheamus, 18 seconds, blah blah blah. I'm not saying it's good.
No, certainly
I'm saying it's funny as fuck.
It is, and they parade Jericho out there with this fucking, like you said,
and they brought an actual tree
with a goddamn potato.
They were okay. If he was doing if he was doing this with Moxley, what it would literally be, because AEW never copies WWE, right? If it was him feuding with Moxley right now, you know what that would have been? That would have been Mitch the Plant.
Yes.
That would have literally been Mitch the fucking Plant.
It would have been, no doubt about it. And here's the thing, it's not just blind Jericho hate. I see why people hate him, and I see your sentiment, absolutely. Yeah. But I also see
because I want AEW to fall down. I don't care anymore.
Yeah. But I also see the legitimacy to the issues of Jericho and what he brings, and the, it's just this legend per se that can't let go. It's that feeling, and unfortunately it's just had this certain je ne sais quoi to it.
Okay, okay, this is the only thing I'm gonna say as far as Jericho in the context of AEW. Nobody's gonna like this, and you might not even agree with me. He's doing more than Sting did. Not better.
No,
I'm just saying he's doing
better,
more.
But more. Yeah, Sting really just kind of flew from the rafters a few times, went through a few tables, took a few crazy dives.
Sting showed up, and Tony Khan jacked off in the back, saying, "I got Sting."
Basically, and what they did with him was really just lacking. I mean, come on now, for what we got for Sting. I mean,
and it became Darby's whole character for a long
time.
Sting Jr. Anyways, We're gonna get off this. We're gonna go back. I'm gonna bring it back
here's
around.
Here's another thing I wanted to bring up too with AEW in the mindset of like anti WWE and whatnot.
Yeah.
Is that I remember the Dean Ambrose disaster of a podcast with Stone Cold.
Yeah.
And we kept thinking like, oh, he's trying to get into Dean's history. Dean doesn't want to talk about it. Dean's a good guy. Like this is not Dean. It was just an awkward thing. And then we learned like, no, that's kind of just who Moxley is. Like even when his wife interviewed him on the podcast, he was still a bit shit. That's just kind of him. He's not a very self-articulating person. He doesn't like to talk about himself much. Hey,
which is
that's
fine.
That's everybody's own thing, and that's totally fine. Now I think back to him and Lesnar, right? They were supposed to have this great no-holds-barred, kill each other fucking hardcore match at WrestleMania that turned to shit.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw the inclusion of all these legends and their weapons. You know, we had Mick Foley bringing out the barbed wire bat and the chainsaw Charlie. Like everything was delivered, but none of it was used. And for a long time, it was like, oh, Lesnar wouldn't play ball. Dean had all these ideas, and Lesnar just was not cooperating.
But you know what it is, though?
You hear from Cody and others really quick. You hear how much of a consummate professional, and even I don't like admitting that, but a consummate professional that Brock is. So the fact that he sends people he wrestles his own butchered fucking meat from cows he raises at his own farm. He takes a picture with the cow that he kills and sends you a whole side of beef of, because that's how much of a professional he is. Like, he is just the consummate professional.
But if you're working with me, you're going to do it my way. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, but I also can kind of think, Christ, he must have gone up to Lesnar being like, all right, now I'm going to cut you in half with the chainsaw. And Lesnar was like, fuck this guy. I'm out of here. This is ridiculous. Like, that's how I envision what
it's
really
it's two different worlds that didn't need to come together, really. You remember when...
They just had nothing to do with Dean at that point. And they needed something for him, and Lesnar was free, and it was like, hey, let's take the beast and put him with our crazy guy. Like that was their temporary mission, but it really failed to capture anything.
But the example I'll give is during COVID. Nobody wants to think about COVID, but
no,
when
not,
NXT UK was a thing and they were doing empty studio stuff, and they had that quiet match with Walter when he was still Walter and Ilya Dragunov, and
the most violent match without weapons ever. Yes.
You told me it was the most hardcore match that's not hardcore that you had ever seen, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Now I think you can apply a little bit of that to Lesnar in the sense of, a match with Lesnar is a hardcore match, even if it never becomes a hardcore match.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't, and this is, I mean this as praise for Moxley, by comparison.
Yes.
You wouldn't put Brock Lesnar with Cactus Jack.
Exactly. No,
like, it's two different kinds of intensity. Like, people right now want to see Mark Briscoe and Bobby Lashley, and I'm like, I like both of those guys, but why?
But why?
It doesn't look. It's like when I heard that they were going to do Ryback and Bray Wyatt, I'm like, that sounds weird. I want to see what that looks like, and then it looked terrible.
Yeah, and it looked like a total disaster.
But if I can bring it back around to CM Punk,
please.
I wanted to talk about this first, like I said, separately from the match that he's in that we're going to talk about later.
Exactly, because this was going to bring up so many spurring points and other things that it has.
He's probably got a contract, like a Roman Reigns contract. I'll be there when I'm there, and I won't be there when I won't be there, and good for him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hey, he's earned it. He certainly
what's
can
he
deliver on
done?
it.
He's done the Rumble. He did commentary at WrestleMania. He participated in Damian Priest's cash-in, which was like pop after pop after pop.
Yeah.
He's done the awesome shit with Drew McIntyre.
Not overbook an angle.
Yeah, not that I ever thought badly of Drew McIntyre, but I think 10 times more out of him. Punk brought something out of Drew McIntyre.
Punk definitely brought something out of him. Now, I always thought great of him to begin with. Like, he's always been a guy that I've really sung the praises of. Like, at WrestleMania time when he took on, Lesnar, I was let's fucking do this. He's going to be my champ.
That's why I wanted to be sure to say, like, this is not a dig at Drew. I like Drew McIntyre when he was the chosen one, like, back in the day. He's got, like, comedy chops. He's got, like, I'll host Raw for the night, like, when he's a babyface chops. And, like, it doesn't take very much for him to turn into a pretty evil looking guy.
Exactly. But and he can switch between the two
with
so
CM
effectively.
Punk, it took, like, generic, you're big, you're scary, you're mean, you're going to hurt me guy, and, like, gave it layers. And not to say that he couldn't do it without, but CM Punk brings it out. CM Punk brought it out of MJF.
Certainly
CM
he
Punk
did.
in one promo teased the only match I really want to see, which is him and Cody. That the one face-to-face that they had on SmackDown, I'm like, we need that match.
Yeah.
Not only as a double middle finger to friggin' Tony Khan, because he could have had this at like an all-in, but like, you need to have that match because
this could have been your match, dude.
Even when I hated Cody, or I shouldn't say hated, but like I wasn't.
You weren't crazy.
I wasn't
your guy. Yeah.
It wasn't for me. Like it wasn't in the groove, and then he became, not to use their terminology, but sort of became undeniable. WrestleMania 40 was a thing.
He really did,
but
though. I mean, he made himself a fucking hot commodity, right? I mean,
but if you want to call them wins, and I'm trying not to sound like an asshole here, AEW's had some wins. They got Mox, they got Edge, they got, this person, that person. I was really gutted when they stole Adam Cole from NXT, but that's me. Like, if you want to call them wins...
I was upset to see Brian there, too, at first. I was like, oh, my God, they got Cole, they got Brian. Like, we knew Brian was leaving, but still, it just was like, oh, my God, all this stuff.
See, and the thing is, that double tap of Brian and Cole hit me more because I was so deep into my black and gold NXT at that point.
I was as well. So.
If you want to call them wins, right? If you want to be childish and tribal, like I am, admittedly, the two most interesting characters in the entire 5-year rivalry between these two companies are Cody Rhodes and CM Punk.
Oh, absolutely.
It has to happen. We're going to get through whatever he's doing with Roman, whatever we're going to talk about for this weekend. We're going to get through, maybe he's going to go, he might face off with The Rock one more time, and that'll be crazy because Rock is like twice the size of The Rock. We're gonna loop back around to this Seth Rollins thing for Mania this year. So I think him and Cody is WrestleMania in 2026. But we got to get there. But
we will get there, I think.
But we learned.
I think we will.
6 months ago.
It's going to happen.
6 months ago, on one face-to-face meeting, on one promo, on the show that he's not even on, has me predicting something that's going to happen 2 years from now.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
WWE didn't do that before, and I'm sorry, CM Punk brings that that element where, I mean, they apply it a lot to the bloodline, but like nothing happens by accident.
No,
like that kind
it
of
certainly
thing.
doesn't.
But what I wouldn't have predicted right away, he's going to go there. He's going to boost up ratings when he's there. People are going to pay attention more on a week that he's advertised to be on Raw. I did not predict his participation in NXT as much as he has. Not that he wouldn't help people,
neither.
But he's put himself out there, and it's like, I'm going to help everybody I can.
How much of the younger talent he's gone, and we heard little rumblings like, oh, hey, he's buying gift cards for the women's locker room in AEW, and he's helping out,
and people tried to make it a weird thing. It's like, oh, well, he's only, in there being weird with the girls. I'm like, yeah, except for Carmelo Hayes has praised him, and Braun Breaker has praised him, and Trick Williams has praised him, and I think friggin'
and so on and so forth.
What's his name?
Exactly.
The guy. I wouldn't have thought of this one, but the guy that's with Sean Spears right now, the one that I call Jacked Perry.
Yes.
Briggs? Is
yeah.
it Briggs? Yeah. Like, all these guys, and it's like, okay, and you just respond to them, it's like, oh, well, he's only hanging out with young women, that's kind of weird. It's like, okay, here's, like, the other half of that story. Google is your friend. And there's like, oh, he's going for Shawn Michaels' job. Well, Shawn Michaels ain't a young guy. Somebody's going to have to do it after him.
Who better than a CM Punk, somebody that knows how to book and has been through many, many different iterations of wrestling.
Say what you want about CM Punk, but you can't say he's not creative.
Exactly.
Let's be real for a second.
They'll try. I just wanted to say how, like, his initial podcast appearance with Colt Cabana really brought this open dialogue to something that there hadn't been before, and it really brought out this, like, hey, this is who the fans want. I mean, it spurned off of the Daniel Bryan stuff, but had he not left, we wouldn't have gotten the Bryan stuff to begin with. So, I mean...
Well, this is the thing. Bryan got the world title after CM Punk left in both companies.
Yes. Both times.
No, not shitting on Daniel Bryan, but I'm just saying it's kind of like sad irony.
It's poetic in a way, and a bit, like you said, ironic.
I want him to come out and start the show just like in like pants and a t-shirt, just like sitting down between the two cages like he did last year when he came out.
when he appeared.
I mean,
it's
not in Chicago, but it will still be funny. And like have him come out there with like I made it a year or something like that.
Well, we have
hell froze over, but it's starting to warm up. Something.
Yeah,
like that.
we have a lot to discuss with advantages and whatnot, but I mean, it's just that Punk opened up a lot, and for all the people that vilified him, it felt like he said, "Well, now what do you have to talk about?" Because I've, oh, he's going to be a problem in WWE. He's going to be an issue. They're fools to hire him. He's going to be fighting with everybody backstage.
The problem.
And if you look back to the issues he had with AEW, it was always about Tony Khan. It always came back to my buddy on Twitter, Tony Khan, not going ahead. I mean, Tony's watched my reviews. He's heard
Punk, what do you want from me? Be a fucking boss.
Yes. Handle this.
And don't reward fucking Jack Perry for being a twat.
Yeah, I mean, now he's the scapegoat. Oh, why? Because Punk left, so you had to do something with Perry? Like, I get it, but...
Yeah,
it's
so punishing to just say, go chill in New Japan for a while. It's like, oh, well, after Brawl Out, well, the Elite were suspended too. Yeah, you had somebody else hold the belts for them for a little bit, and they went on vacation. Fuck off.
Fucking bullshit. Cry me a river. That's the real. Well, that's what we're saying with Punk, though. That's what Punk brings. That's what Punk's brought us. The ability to see what we couldn't before with AEW. I mean, he brought to light the hypocrisy and the
Well, it wasn't that you couldn't see it. It was that nobody would say it. Like, you heard little things here and there.
You did, but we didn't really have like that defying proof of it. Then Cody left first, and we're like, that's strange. That's a bit odd. Why is he leaving?
And that was a different kind of win, because it's like, the company sucks when one of its creators knows that WWE is a better option.
Well, I think he read the writing on the wall. I think he knew, hey, the shit's going down with Vince. Yeah, and the shit's going down with Vince. I know what's going to happen here and here. You got it after this day. How much more DI can you hold through?
Oh my God.
I mean, honest to God, though, when you think about everything, it really feels like Cody knew where to plant his ball. All right, WWE is obviously listening. They gave me back the Rhodes name. They clearly know, hey, we're going to put out this little bit of a feeler. Like, they could have kept it if they wanted to. They didn't. They chose.
But WWE's petty because they re-upped the copyright on the name Edge that he's not using in AEW anyway.
Exactly. That he even said himself. He's like, I wouldn't have even gone by Edge even if I changed my name like Warrior. I wouldn't want to go by Edge there because it's not Edge that's there. It's Adam Copeland. It's a different version. Even though he's
the rated R superstar coming out to Metalingus.
Yes, I know.
He's
figure.
Edge in everything but name.
But name, yes. I mean, exactly.
Don't get me wrong. He's my countryman. He's my cityman and whatever.
I love Edge.
I do too.
AEW leaves a lot to be desired with him.
I do too, but like for him to sit there and say, "Oh, I don't even need Edge anymore." That was in the past. I'm like, you're cosplaying as yourself.
Exactly.
How's that even a thing?
That's why I get upset when we see people leave WWE and go to AEW, or even vice versa. We haven't seen much of, but when people go to AEW, it seems like, hey, I'm just going to take whatever my old gimmick was and make it the same all over again. I'm just going to change the M to a Y.
We're not going to talk about the Hurt Syndicate tonight. We're not going to do it. I need to be in a better mood.
And we see these things, and it's like, oh, you're the exact same all over again. You're just going to come out there, and that's the difference. There is none. All right, fine, but
fantastic.
And that's what we've dealt with time and time again now. So we see the lack of creative. We see how there's a lack of leadership. We see how people having fucking creative control in any regard there has only led to terrible decisions. Camille is a huge example of that. I mean, it can't be overstated with how drastic
how's their investment in Mercedes Moné going?
Exactly. I mean, they just had Moné. I'm going to fire you. No, I'm going to leave. And it's like, wait, what? That's your payoff for all that the entire time she's been here.
They made their last three big investments. The only one that's paying off is Will Ospreay. I don't care that his story doesn't make sense because I like his matches that much.
I do like his matches.
Okada,
his story doesn't make sense, sadly.
But Trasha Skanks and Kazuchika Okodi, like, what are we doing?
And then you're having Okada and Garcia defend their belts in the Continental Classic against each other, but you're not unifying them. So what's the point to put down one champion for no gain or payoff? It's just a dynamite match. So
I'm just happy that belt isn't on Jack Perry anymore. I'm not going to lie.
Granted, no, I agree, but
a broken clock gets to be right once a day, not twice.
Yeah, not twice. Not
anyways,
this term.
So you know,
Survivor Series.
Whatever we want to say. Cheers to CM Punk for a year. If anything, like, you know, we're probably going to do some kind of year-end, what do we want in 2025 bullshit at the end of December.
We'll definitely have
But I will say, if anything, I want strengthen the creative partnership, however it is, between CM Punk and Shawn Michaels. And
I want him to strengthen all of it. I want him to continue everything that he's been doing and then some. He's getting involved in the best matches, the money matches. You know, he wasn't at Crown Jewel. Well, no shit. What were you going to do at Crown Jewel?
I would almost love to see,
Punk?
because we know that his matches are going to be here and there. He's not going to be wrestling every week, and that makes him feel like a special attraction anyway, which is awesome.
Yes, gives him
I would hope we almost get into a routine of his home is working behind the scenes with NXT, and he takes a break from that every now and then to go have a rivalry with somebody.
Yeah.
I think that's where you get the perfect balance of his input, his experience, his participation.
Him being meaningful
and then he can almost, like, Sean can almost lend him to the main roster because you need a big match for SummerSlam. But that's just me. Maybe he does want to do a full schedule next year. Who the fuck knows? Maybe he really likes the idea of being on Netflix.
He could. We don't know, and that's.
But we got to make sure. Wait a minute. Hold on. What we would have to put him on Raw though, because if you've seen the news, the 3 shows are differently rated on Netflix.
Yes.
Quick thing, I don't even know what the fuck this is going to mean because WWE sees itself as PG anyway. Raw is TV 14, SmackDown is TV MA, and NXT of all things is TV PG.
Yes, randomly. I don't know if those ratings are just placeholders, as we've heard a few times, and that's kind of just a temporary, but even still, it doesn't feel right. I mean, where's the simpatico between brands there?
But I mean, like, with all the sex on NXT, like, NXT is going to be the PG show.
All the death and fucking.
In its early days,
Michaels is bringing out.
In its early days, NXT was the cure for the common PG wrestling.
Yes, indeed.
But no, I just thought that, like, that's not anything to dig into. I just thought it was
but it
was one of those, like, not interesting, but just you sort of look at it, you glance at it, and you say, well, but why though?
Yes, exactly.
It's one of those.
But
yeah, the card is in front of me. We know what we're doing. 43 minutes later, we're going to talk about the card.
That's right.
Start off with, and this is kind of a news point that I would have thrown into State of Wrestling, LA Knight versus, I want your opinion on this, the returning heel Shinsuke Nakamura.
An interesting choice, no doubt about it. I mean, great for them to do something with Nakamura at this point in time. I mean, they weren't really doing much. And, he kind of had that brief stint as a heel, did the things with Cody, and then disappeared. And now to have him back and challenging for a title, I don't see LA Knight losing. I mean, He just got his side plates recently. It really feels like, hey, he's got this belt for quite a while. But especially because there really wasn't much of a feud here. It just kind of was leading into, hey, I'm back and we're going to have a match, which I don't have a problem with.
I'm picturing it as potentially being a change strictly for that reason, because it's so out of nowhere. And yes. LA Knight, even though he's the title holder, has been the third guy in the Carmelo Andrade match, or the Carmelo Andrade feud, rather,
yes.
where every now and then we throw in the United States Championship.
And that went to a best of 300 at some point.
Well, so it was best of 7. But you know what? They're doing the Alistair Buddy Murphy thing of, if you want to do it again next week, I'll watch. Like those two have found a chemistry with each other at just the right time, because neither one of them was doing anything.
And it works.
But the other side of this coin is, and this is no slight on LA Knight, Shinsuke Nakamura, we haven't seen in a while. We don't know what current day Shinsuke Nakamura is. Maybe he switched up his style. Maybe he's going to do something a little bit differently. We know from NXT what Andrade and Shinsuke can do. I'm really curious, not to overlook this match, but I'm really curious what a Shinsuke versus Carmelo Hayes match looks like.
That would be another one, and I could certainly see Nakamura, winning the title at some point. Not yet,
yeah,
but I could see him being a good transitional heel champion to really build off of.
If there's a draft here, and this is off on another tangent, because
I'm pretty sure there will be. I'm
apparently when we kick into Netflix, you guys get Raw and the rest of us get basically everything. Apparently
Yes.
there's going to be a big draft and a shuffle. If LA Knight goes to Raw, and with the people that are currently feuding for that world title, I can see him getting into that mix. The WWE title mix on SmackDown is at a little bit of a higher echelon, respectfully. I don't see him going in there against Rock or Cody or Roman or anybody like that.
No, he doesn't
but I could
really
see him.
fit there yet.
But I could see LA Knight mixing it up with Damian Priest or somebody like a Finn Balor or even a Walter would be a really interesting
Walter
match.
especially.
I think to see what happens.
And they cooled off on LA Knight for a while, it kind of seemed like. Even with him being the U.S. champ, like you say, because he took a back seat to the other feuds. He was a special guest ref. He was, all these other things.
Well, he felt really like the third guy in the match, even when he was the champion, which is not ideal, but they've had him in-ring less, coasting on mic work more because that's his strong suit. I think give him a fresh coat of paint on Raw in the new year. Give Shinsuke the title. Again, it's not the first time it would be the first time he's held the U.S. title, I believe.
I believe so. I'm not positive, though.
So we'll see what he can do with that. And as I say, as the rest of the mid-card is developing on SmackDown right now, see what that looks like. LA Knight in the world title picture, not the worst thing in the world. I'm going to go with Nakamura here because it feels so out of nowhere that they wouldn't have done it unless something was going to happen.
Yeah, certainly. It feels like, hey, you guys certainly had a plan. And that was to be used. So,
and it is kind of cool because we're so into it, and because so many of the stories are so not played out in the negative context, but like so many of the stories are long term, and you can pull at the strings and you can kind of see what's going on. The fact that Nakamura came back and it was literally out of nowhere is a rarity these days because we're all dialed in. And we all know when we think CM Punk is coming back, when we think Paul Heyman's coming back, what we think is going to happen with Priest or Walter or whatever the case may be. Shinsuke coming back because nobody's talked about him forever, for better and worse. Like him coming in was a surprise, so him becoming the champion would double down on the surprise at a time where, as well, on SmackDown, they're also in the midst of establishing the women's equivalent of the title. So maybe
and they have that tournament going on
both sides.
We saw on Raw the belt added as well, which was interesting to see. Yeah, the women's Intercontinental.
Okay, we'll branch off on that for a second because the next title I'm going to talk about is the IC title. But the ladies' IC title for a second. The ladies' U.S. title was done in a backstage pre-recorded thing by Nick Aldis. I thought he was very classy with it. He got short, sweet, and to the point. Adam Pearce came out to the ring with, I love the new podium that they have, by the way, the one that it looks like it's all foam and actually meant to hold a title. It's not just a table.
It doesn't just fall over.
But he came he came out to the ring with that, did the presentation in front of everybody instead of backstage before the show started.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't really matter because the people in-house saw it and we saw the replay of it afterwards, but just that 5 minutes that you took to show the replay of what happened before the show just could have been the next 5 minutes on the show.
Exactly.
In both cases, I would have liked for them to actually have the women's division around the ring or at least on the ramp because not to get on a podium or anything like that, but here's your man in charge to announce this new women's championship twice. See, when Ava did it, and I hate having conversations like this, but when Ava introduced the women's North American championship, that was a lady doing it for the ladies, and there is something nice to that.
There is something.
But you double down on it on Raw and SmackDown, and so you could have not have somebody else speak for Pierce or Aldis. I'm not advocating for that either. But you could have had the ladies around the ring. It would have been nice.
Yeah, they certainly could have done
maybe you're out to at least announce the people that are in the tournament, whatever. Small little things, but I just thought it was weird to do it before the show started because all those pictures were circling around on Twitter before it ever was live on our televisions.
Yeah. It just had a very weird feel to it.
But sorry, ladies, we're going to put the ladies back on the shelf for a minute and talk about the IC title. Braun Breaker, Sheamus, Ludwig Kaiser. My thought on this is...
If they were going to give away the title, here's where they do it. I mean...
Here's the thing, right? I don't know who's going to win because all three stories in this match are awesome. Braun Breaker is in the middle of a hell of a run. Yes. They brought him up to the main roster. They decided this is our guy, and they're running with it, and that's kind of cool to watch. If it's Sheamus, it's this long-term, this is the last thing I have to check off my bucket list. You know,
yeah,
I'm winding everything down or whatever. Ludwig Kaiser...
And he couldn't beat Gunther at Mania with Drew.
It's true.
There's that part to it. So adding Ludwig in there is kind of like a bit of Gunther being still involved.
But see, the thing about this with Ludwig is you look at this match, on the surface, it looks like they don't want Braun to lose, they don't want Sheamus to lose, Ludwig's in there to be the pin eater, right?
Yeah. Seems but I don't know.
I kind of think it would be a ballsy move to have Kaiser actually take it. To have that exact mentality of nobody thinks he's going to win, and that's why we do it. In this particular case, because they're like a hop, skip, and a jump away from separating Kaiser and Gunther anyway, I think. I can't put my finger on why necessarily, but I've had that feeling for like a week or so now. So, hop, skip, and a jump. If he flash up to the Gunther match, but if Gunther loses his title on the same night that Ludwig gains a title, and all of a sudden Ludwig's not looking at Gunther as his hero, his leader, whatever anymore, there's your launching pad for Ludwig Kaiser that you didn't think was going to happen.
Exactly.
If I really got pressed for an answer, I'm going to say Braun Breaker keeps it because they've definitely got the rocket on his ass, but I don't think there's a bad option here.
Exactly.
Where are you
leaning? I'm with you. If anyone's going to walk away with it, I think it'd be a really great thing for Ludwig Kaiser to have it, and just for him to, like, Braun Breaker spears Sheamus and Ludwig gets the pin kind of idea, like he steals one. That could be a lot of fun.
Realistically, what are you thinking, though?
Yeah. I keep going back and forth. I think you're right. I think more than likely it's going to be Breaker defends his title successfully with what they have going for him and what they have planned in the future. But yeah, I agree.
I think for Sheamus, because we talk about he wants to get that last tick off his bucket list there. It feels like something that's going to happen at the end of a big Raw or a big SmackDown in the main event, rather than in the middle of a pay-per-view. Because I don't
even Mania.
I don't think they're but I don't think they're going to main of I think they want to give Sheamus a main event moment, but I don't think they're going to put the IC title in the main event of a pay-per-view. So that's why I'm saying
I get that. That makes sense.
If they have this would be the perfect if Breaker retains and Sheamus wins the IC title on the Netflix debut Raw, which is going to be massive and huge and
that's a good idea.
Historic
that's
and all
a
that
really
kind of
good idea.
But you see what I mean?
That be the main event.
He would have that main event spot, whereas on a pay-per-view. Yeah, you're winning it on a pay-per-view. Maybe you're winning it in a bigger stage. Maybe you're winning it in a bigger building. But you don't get that main event, respect that I think they want to give them.
That makes a great deal of sense, and especially I like your first on Raw idea, or at least something close to that. I mean, that it really seems like it would be beneficial for them for the most part.
Or if they're not worried about it being a main event concern, come to something like the first Netflix episode of Raw and have that match where he wins the Intercontinental Championship finally be the very first thing we see.
Ooh, yeah, that too. I mean, that works out because that'd be like more eyes on the beginning of the show than the end of it, surely.
Yeah.
And they put out a hell of a banger like that, Braun Breaker and Sheamus.
Yeah.
Title defense.
Because I think if Ludwig is there to be the pin eater, then he loses his place in the contention. Because Braun Breaker still has the belt, Sheamus can say, "Well, I didn't lose." Ludwig Kaiser lost. He's got no get to get back into that match then.
Yeah.
So I think we've all kind of settled on Braun Breaker winning, and I mean, Sheamus beating Ludwig Kaiser for the title is fine, but Sheamus beating Braun Breaker on the roll that he's been on has a little bit more punch to it as well.
Yeah, Kaiser just kind of feels like, oh, you got to steal. Again, like we said, it feels like, hey, you didn't really beat the champion. And I don't know if that's how Sheamus wants to do it. So, I mean, he certainly could win it that way. But would that be the most ideal for him? I'm not sure.
Well, it's kind of like winning your first WWE title, or winning your first WWE title from Stone Cold Steve Austin or John Cena.
Yeah.
If that
and
makes,
that's
it sounds like I'm dumping on Ludwig Kaiser, but he hasn't been presented to that same level yet. That's why I would love.
He's not even the champ, exactly.
On the other side of the coin, I would love the surprise for Ludwig Kaiser, because right now I'm, like I said before, I think people have all already sort of cast him off as, yeah, he's going to be the pin eater in this. But yeah, Breakker retains.
I think
we're leaning towards Breakker retains. Let's round out the title matches before we get into the. I'm going to cough. Before we get into the two War Games matches, Gunther versus Damian Priest. Before we get into this,
yes,
what's your current read on Damian Priest?
He's definitely elevated from where he was before. I mean, he's a former champion, and the work he's done recently has really kind of helped him elevate himself, I feel like, a bit. So he feels, especially with his promo work recently, I feel like that really makes a big difference, and we've seen quite a few glimmers of greatness from him.
Yeah. His voice lends itself to a "don't fuck with me" promo.
Yes, absolutely, and it has that kind of gravitas to it. So him being more demanding, commanding, and being in charge really feels like, hey, this makes a difference. This is I see him as the attacker now instead of defending, and it kind of suits him better going after the title. So.
Well, okay, so
the promos have been good. I mean, we got the street trash comments before and whatnot, so now we get to add to it a bit. And
yeah, you kind of hit on where I was going to divert to for a second, because all three companies that we watch have this certain character somewhere on their roster, and it's the street fighter, street kid. I came from nothing. Let me tell you a little bit about my heritage.
Yeah.
You might have all the best training in the world, but you didn't hang out on 45th and 10th when I was dealing with all the, whatever story. Here's the thing. Those three people are Mike Santana, Damian Priest, and unfortunately Eddie Kingston. Now,
yeah.
I think the best out of the three of them is Mike Santana. I'll be perfectly honest.
In that role right now, yeah.
To me, Eddie Kingston is an absolute fucking cartoon character.
See, I like Eddie, but he's a shell of his former self. I mean, he came in like a ball of fucking fire, and they just never really capitalized on what he could
I think they went too far with it. Like the whole, I've been beaten up so badly in the back that you couldn't even see it, but I'm coming out with a bloody shirt on, and here's my fucking gas can.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I'm a fucking movie villain or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to draw your scale as like shit at this role as Eddie Kingston and awesome at this role as Mike Santana, I would say Damian Priest is sort of, because he's kind of shifted into that gear, he's about 80% towards Mike Santana. I still think Mike Santana's better.
Yes,
but they've pulled him away from the, like, when he was in
Judgment Day.
When he was in Judgment Day, he was kind of like goth jock. At the same time, and after that he tried to immediately, they did what they did to Diesel back in the day. I don't care what a badass you were before, now you're the champion, now you have to go out there and be a smiley, hosting the show babyface, and he's not quite that anymore, and he's leaning into, that sort of Street Fighter
gimmick.
I'm trying to come up with a better way to say it, but I hope people listening get what I'm trying to say. He's really leaning into that, and it seems he's found a comfort zone. And because his promos now are more effective, and he's not pushing to get them there anymore, which tells me it's a comfort zone character-wise for him. They got him away from Rhea Ripley, which I didn't think they would do so quickly, but it was sort of.
I tended to think they would because I mean,
well, the two of them as a pair
limiting each other. Yeah.
Well, the two of them as a pair were so popular as a pair, though. So pulling them apart, Rhea Ripley was going to be fine. For him, it was kind of a sink or swim thing. I didn't think he was going to sink, but I think he's sort of found his spot as a challenger now, which is funny considering we said his character got better as soon as he dropped the title.
Yes.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I wouldn't mind him getting the belt back because he's picked away at Gunther. They're doing this thing where Gunther is the monster that's all of a sudden doubting himself.
Yes.
It's believable.
After losing to Cody, yeah, they're really playing up on. He was so focused on getting Cody with the choke that he ended up choking himself. And
it's believable, but I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to take it one match too far, and I think this is another thing they push to either Saturday night's main event or possibly that first Netflix Raw.
Yeah, I see him getting screwed out of the win here, and then they're going to have the rematch on the main event show. I think that's what we get, honestly.
Main event is already looking pretty fucking good.
I mean, that's going to be excellent. We know it.
Like we could have a whole separate conversation about all the
not having Cody until then. That's a thing to discuss. Certainly, you know. Him,
I mean, we have
Owens.
Cody. He just doesn't happen to be on this one show. I mean,
well, that's what I'm saying. For Survivor Series,
yeah,
and it's a noticeable loss.
But I think, as far as that one big noticeable name when they're not there, I think your substitute for that is CM Punk, to get back to our initial conversation.
Exactly. And building into the Wargames itself, yeah.
He misses one show, and all of a sudden we're like, oh my god, we don't have Cody? What?
Yes, because it feels unnatural. That's
a credit to him. But
he's the everyman.
We'll talk. Well, he's going up against the everyman as well. We'll talk more about it when we get to Saturday night's main event. But we're talking a lot about promos tonight because we started with CM Punk. But like the Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes last week on SmackDown. Holy fuck!
Wow, did they really get into each other? And Owens is not wrong either, which is kind of a great thing for a heel. Like, again, you don't want to make him totally relatable, but you want to make him understandable. And it's like, how could you have teamed with Roman after...
There is a really cool thing, too, about Cody being in the ring because he's the professional, he's the wrestler, let's do it in the ring. Kevin Owens is farther away. He's trying to play it off as, no, not now, we're going to do it on my time, where really it's kind of like, is he stepping back? But he's in the crowd, Cody's in the ring. The guy that the crowd is behind is in the ring, and the guy that the crowd is booing is in the crowd.
Exactly.
It was a really cool, and somebody said it was a shot-for-shot remake of something they did in ROH. I don't care. It was awesome.
It was great, and just because ROH did it doesn't mean they can't either.
Yeah.
And it's a great idea. You know, that's why it's a great storytelling moment.
And you know what? For the people that know, and this is not like I'm not taking a dig at ROH either way.
No, but how many times have we told the same stories throughout the years as well?
But I'm saying, like, for the people that know that, that's a cool thing. And to quote Russell Brand, you get the warm, glowing feeling of knowing something.
Exactly.
I think it's really cool, and they're not even on this card. But holy fuck, we're talking about promos a lot tonight, and that's fantastic. And it doesn't take a lot, just a couple of digs. Like the other one we could mention, and it's going to happen on Raw, so like I don't think we're going to get a chance to preview it. But Woods and Kofi?
Yeah, that's another one. Holy fuck. And they just put out on the WWE channel as well, the New Day retrospective. They look back, the three of them, at their greatest moments. And it's interesting that they're trying to, and they have a little bit of the characters' work still in there.
Nice.
So it's cool to see, like, hey, yeah, I can celebrate our wins, but it doesn't change our current losses.
Nice. I just think, like...
And I like that they had Big E
because
there,
I want
to be involved with the finish.
I want everything to be a ridiculous tag team match now. So, like, Woods and Kevin Owens versus Kofi and Cody.
That would be great.
For reasons.
Do you need a reason? I mean...
Well, all kinds of reasons. That's the thing.
Yeah, there's tons there, but... We don't need just one, that's for certain. Not with that involved.
Now, I'll start with the ladies.
All right.
In the War Games match.
Because I don't think the men's is opening. I think the women's is going to open, and then we're going to have the men's be the finish.
I think they might switch it up and not do top and tail. Remember I don't know whatever year the Rumble was, but the Rumble where it was Roman versus somebody, and then they did the first Rumble, and then they did the rest of the matches. I don't think necessarily starting off with the cage, maybe have the cage second, and don't make it just, okay, here's the bookends, everybody go take a piss in the middle. I think they need to vary that a little. I know why they do it, to keep them as separate as possible, keep them as special as possible so they don't lean into each other.
Yes,
but
you
I think
try
that's
and keep
why,
them as thematically separate as you can.
If anything, a show like this could do with one or two more matches. I'm just saying.
I don't disagree.
Hands up, I'm just putting it out there.
That's the good and bad thing about their get in, get out
shows,
5-match thing that they've had lately, because some of it is like, oh fuck, this is great. I can't get enough of this. This is the perfect timing, fill, all of it. Everything works.
And I get it. Wargames matches are long matches, so you're getting a long show anyway. But you could do with one, like, put a squash in there.
You could add 2 more matches and certainly.
Like, I'm not saying.
Why not finish the women's tournament here? Something.
Keeping that as something cool for Saturday night's main event, and keeping the other one probably for the first Netflix Raw. I get that, because they're trying to
get it, but
but they want to do big stuff on Saturday night's main event because they want to reestablish it as a thing. They don't want it to be seen as their version of Battle of the Belts. That's why they're putting the Cody and KO thing there. That's why I suggested maybe Gunther, Damian Priest one more time on there as well. They said they were going to treat it like a almost pay-per-view. You got to make it worth it then. So you got to spread your stuff. I would say, honestly, I don't care that they have a pay-per-view the following weekend. Put like a NXT exhibition match on here. Just
I agree.
In front of a slightly bigger crowd. If it falls down, it falls down, and it could fall down. But
it certainly could.
If WWE's ever been in a position to take a gamble like that, it's right now. Let's be real for a second.
Right. Yeah, they could, and you know most of the main roster audience is ingratiated to the NXT product.
Yeah.
That's certainly showing with the ratings lately too.
Or at least that they might give them the benefit of the doubt of, if they don't watch NXT, okay, here's a couple people from developmental, let's see what they can do.
Yes.
The other thing that I forgot to mention in the Intercontinental Championship match, a lot of people have been saying Braun Breaker, because he does his lap around the ring spear.
Yes.
He's going to be running around the double ring. It's going to be fantastic.
You know, that's a great point. And
the thing on Raw where he went for the spear and missed and basically took his own sternum into the corner of the desk.
He
I was like,
that was great.
If that's real, he's dead. If that's real, he's dead.
Yes.
Like the
way they gimmicked that was great, I'm sure, but holy hell. I mean, he ran hard as he can into the corner of the desk. I mean, he's definitely, I got my spleen bruised by just barely going into a wall. That guy, holy hell.
And he breaks all the records and all that. If you see, like, live video footage from arenas and whatever, because you know how they talk about, like, oh, he hits the ropes really hard and he runs really fast. If you hear the turnbuckles and the turnbuckle pads, like, snapping against each other when he's running the ropes, it's kind of terrifying.
Oh, it is. He's a fucking just destroyer.
Like, there's nothing fake about the fact that Braun Breaker is a fucking machine. Anyways, ladies' Wargames. Again, I'm going to throw another comment your way and see if you agree with me or not, because most people don't. It's the internet. A lot of people are saying this match is really, really, really thrown together. It is. My counter to that is...
It is, yet it isn't, though. Like, there's no one in here that doesn't make sense. Yeah. And that speaks to the strength of them booking.
They're drawing strings together from about 5 different stories, right?
Exactly.
But even if I go with the people that are saying this one is more thrown together, with how deep and layered and storied the men's is, this one being a little more loose by comparison gives it the variety it needs between the two matches.
Exactly, and I'm okay with it not being as super serious. Like, hey, you took her boyfriend and fucking took her title, and she wants to get a group to destroy you, coming out screaming War Games after you attacked her in the NXT parking lot. Works for me. Rhea, mommy, she returned, and she wants some fucking vengeance. Hell yeah, let's do it.
And she's Batman.
Let's go for it.
and she's Batman.
She's Batman. Vengeance.
She's
War
Batman.
Games.
Well, somebody with an accent had to say it.
Somebody had to scream it for us. Yeah, okay. No doubt about it.
So, I gotta do one spoiler, because SmackDown was already taped.
Yes.
So we know who the 5th person is on the face team. We got Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Io Sky, and, cover your ears, Bayley.
Bayley, hey, look at that.
Taking on Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae.
I mean, she basically made it obvious on Raw, like, hey, if you can't trust me by helping you win the the advantage, then what are we doing here?
I think it's really hilarious, and I don't mind them making Bianca Belair look stupid, because I could use a bit of a break from Bianca Belair. That's as mean as I'm going to get about it. I could use a break. I don't want her to lose her job. I don't want her to fucking fall down in the parking lot or something.
No, certainly not.
But I could use a break from her for,
use a change
sure.
Here.
I think it's hysterical that she doesn't want anything to do with Bayley because of damage control, and yet Io Sky's in the match.
Yes.
Who's still damage control, and Bayley's not.
Exactly. So
It works for the false tension thing, but they're trying to do with Bianca Belair, and it's not all her fault. It's WWE repeating a story too quickly.
Yes, it's their storytelling problem.
She's trying to do the Drew McIntyre thing.
Yeah.
Like Drew McIntyre didn't want Jey Uso on Raw because of what he did when he was in the Bloodline and all that. And It made sense. And it makes sense for her too, but she's not Drew McIntyre, first of all. I'm sorry, she's not. And they're not going to turn her heel on the back of it, which they should.
That would be, especially with the, Jade Cargill being taken out thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they really have.
Apparently, that's because she's dealing with some legitimate stuff. So all
and
good,
it might be a neck injury, and that for whatever week timeline might apparently be bullshit too. So we'll see what happens. But
I mean, we don't know I haven't looked fully into it because it is straying into none of our business territory.
Yes.
Blanket statement of we like Jade Cargill, we hope she's okay.
Exactly.
Apparently they've made the decision to strip the titles. We might see a video clip of that on SmackDown at some point, but it is what it is. But Bianca Belair doing a Drew McIntyre made it work because he was eaten alive by it and he became a heel. Bianca Belair has already said she'll never turn heel, so it's not going to work, and it's you're not Drew McIntyre.
No.
Here's my thing, right? The tag team situation on SmackDown is fucking awesome. That's another conversation to have at another time. But the Street Profits are edging towards turning heel. Here's a way that you keep Bianca Belair on my TV, and I'd be actually really interested in it.
Make them team up?
No, Street Profits turn heel. She turns heel.
Mm-hmm.
She goes into their locker room, beats the fuck out of B-Fab, and says, "No, fuck off. We don't need you anymore."
Ooh.
You get a Bianca Belair versus B-Fab thing. B-Fab is relatively new. She's not setting the world on fire in the ring, but she's been doing pretty good recently.
She's doing enough, yeah.
She's doing enough. They put her in the tournament. They gave her that triple threat match. They put her in there with the right people. She got a chance to show up and show out and all that kind of thing. But you do a little side quest, Bianca Belair versus B-Fab. Heel Bianca Belair with the heel Street Profits behind her, and then she's with them when they win the titles. And even then, if you want to put the belt on her and put the belt on them, and they want to stand as a triumphant heel trio, it would at least be different. I'm really curious about, out of the three of them, Montez Ford.
Yeah,
Montez Ford, because he's so expressive and so electric with whatever he's portraying, whether it's excitement,
whatever
whether it's
he does,
celebration,
it's
whether
always
it's disappointment, whether it's anger. He's so like him sinking his teeth into a proper heel run. I'd be all for that. And if they do that as a package, I think that'd be fucking fantastic. But Bianca Belair, smiley, happy, baby face. I have to do it because I've got little girls out there that depend on me. No, you want to sell merch. Fuck off.
Yeah, that's all it comes down to.
And unfortunately, apparently they're going to put the attack on Naomi, and they're going to turn Naomi heel instead against Bianca Belair, which I don't really want to see on a lot of levels.
I'm not crazy about that decision either, but
Io Sky's going to put a trash can on her head. It's going to be fun. Rhea Ripley's going to kill some people. It's going to be fun.
The real question to me is Tiffany Stratton's on the side of both women's champions. I mean, she's really got a take your pick moment with her cash in. Does she cash in here?
I had an idea for that. I threw it out on Twitter the other day for the people that responded to it. Tiffany Stratton, if her team loses, like if her team gets destroyed by the babyfaces, which, spoiler alert, I'm predicting the babyfaces are going to win. Babyfaces have Rhea Ripley.
Yes, they should win anyways.
Tiffany Stratton cashes in on Liv Morgan.
Okay.
Becomes the women's world champion, which takes her to Raw, divorces her from Nia Jax, means that she's on Raw when they go to Netflix. Rumored to return on the Raw on Netflix is Becky Lynch.
Yes.
And we know from NXT what these two ladies can do in the ring, what Becky Lynch went down to NXT and did with Tiffany Stratton at the time, along with Lyra Valkyria and a couple of other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Reinvigorate the feud between Becky Lynch and Tiffany Stratton for the women's world title on Raw, on Netflix. You're welcome.
And then you're basically good to go.
And then you open it wide up because if she goes to Raw, that means somebody's coming to SmackDown.
Yeah. Somebody's got to make the moves. And who would that be?
I would say Raquel Rodriguez, and have Raquel Rodriguez finally go on She's been a heavy or a diesel to like 3 different women in her career at this point. She's done a lot of tag stuff. I can't say I'm 100% like excited through the roof thinking she's going to do like 5-star classics or anything of that description, but Raquel Rodriguez versus Nia Jax, Raquel Rodriguez versus Bianca Belair, Raquel Rodriguez versus Jade Cargill when she comes back.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that work, certainly.
It's really weird to see Candice LeRae playing heel again because she hasn't done it since The Way, and we know she'll do something crazy in the cage as well, but it's going to be overshadowed by Rhea Ripley killing everybody and Io Sky with a bucket on her head. Babyfaces are winning.
I think we're going to get a cash in, but I think it is going to be on Nia. I think they're going to change things up there, and we are going to get one more Rhea versus, Rhea beats her Liv Morgan coming up soon, and then from there, like you said, what do we get for Raw? It could be a Becky, could be a bunch of things, but
if Tiffany Stratton takes the belt though off of Liv, Tiffany Stratton can go off and do her own thing. Rhea Ripley still gets her hands on Liv Morgan, say Saturday night's main event, just as an example, because right now they've taken it to the point where it doesn't necessarily need to have the title, so she can almost dismiss her, be like, okay, Liv, you and I are going to go one more time, I'm going to kick your ass, and then I'm going to kick the other Barbie doll's ass and take my belt. So she can go into a match with Liv Morgan with such, like, piss and vinegar that I'm already looking past you, me kicking the shit out of you is like a formality. By the way, Tiffany, keep that belt warm for me.
Yes, hold on to that and don't let it go, because we'll see what happens. But yeah, and that's kind of been the thing that's happened here lately. It's been this, set with the 2 women holding the titles for a while, and I think we need a really big change-up, and I think this could be a good thing to happen.
I have an idea. If they don't announce it on Friday, the surrender of the tag titles, what if Tiffany Stratton cashed in the title on Bianca Belair, trying to stay in Nia Jax's good graces, and says, we can be champions together. She beats the fuck out of Bianca Belair, or Bianca Belair's already been taken out, takes the one tag belt off of her, they go back to the office where they've got Jade Cargill's other belt or whatever, and she sort of gives it to the queen, and it becomes obnoxious, and then you bring in some proper tag team to take it off of Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah.
It's not the best use of the Money in the Bank, but, like, she's Weasley heel who's trying to suck up to the stronger heel. Hey, I brought you something shiny. Can we still be friends? Please don't kill me because you think I'm going to cash in on you.
Yeah, and that works.
It would be a perfect opportunity to use the fact that Jade Cargill is not there. So not only are you cashing in on somebody who's already been beaten up in a cage, but you are potentially cashing in definitely cashing in 2-on-1 on a tag title holder.
Exactly.
I don't even like it as it came to mind, really. I don't think it would come off as bad as I think it would, but it's a direction to go to avoid them just stripping the titles entirely and having to make them from scratch again.
Yeah.
Because as we know, the women's tag team titles are cursed.
They seem to be. How many people have, since Bayley and before Sasha, when they had it, laying on the ground crying? It really seems to be that's what it's been for a long time now. It's just been pretty considerably cursed.
Yeah. And, the men's Wargames match is not really anything to talk about. It's just going to be a by-the-numbers tag cage match, and I'm sure nothing will ever come of it, right? We just clap our hands and call it a day? No.
No, that's it.
Okay. What's going to get lost in this whole scenario, so I'll talk about it first. I hope they keep it. I love Bronson Reed in the Bloodline.
I do as well. He fits. He's a great addition. He looks legit. He looks like he's
him and Jacob
there.
Fatu look like they could be a tag team.
Yes.
And who's going to fuck with them?
Exactly. So it really feels like that's
Bronson
a
Reed
given.
and Jacob Fatu versus the Viking Raiders. Or sorry, the War Raiders.
The War Raiders, yeah. I'm all about it, honestly. So.
Oh my God, Bronson Reed and Jacob Fatu versus the Creeds.
Now you're onto something.
Now I am onto something. I'm always onto something. Usually it's bad.
And it's kind of the thing lately, like after the Creeds, we haven't really seen anything of note from the Wyatt Six, and they kind of fell to the wayside. It's been like, hey, we haven't really gotten much from these guys.
A lot of people surprised we're not getting or some people said a third Wargames match. Don't do that. But a 6-man tag or a mixed tag between them and Final Testament.
I'm shocked we're not getting anything of it. I mean,
okay.
They basically
all
right.
Side note. Okay, sorry. Didn't think I was going to get onto this, but I just thought of it, so here we go. Who had Karrion Kross and The Miz as a team on their fucking bingo card?
No, certainly.
Because it works way more than it should.
The Miz has worked very well, and everything that he's done so far has been pretty understated.
Bronson Reed and Jacob Fatu versus AOP.
I mean, just keeps writing itself.
Let's go. Big, meaty tag teams slapping tag meat.
Slapping the meat, brother.
Spaz is drinking. Yay.
Yay. But no,
what are we doing with this?
I kind of go back and forth because Roman lost the last match. So he won with Cody, but then they lost at Crown Jewel. I really feel like they need to come back and win here. And that's going to lead to things with The Rock. Everyone thinks The Rock's going to show up. I think The Rock kind of has to show up here, no? I mean, he could wait to the Rumble time, but it seems like...
Here's the thing. I love The Rock. I love the chaos that this version of The Rock, this final boss, this guy that runs TKO, which means he's technically Triple H's boss, which is hilarious. This version of The Rock brings chaos anytime he's in the scenario. I almost hope he stays away from this because there's so much going on here. The choice... Okay, people are saying that Punk and Heyman are going to turn on the Bloodline and join Bloodline 2.0. Put that on the shelf for a moment. Let's just say Heyman's good, Punk is good, they're all on the good side. It does so much. The Bloodline went to Seth Rollins. Mm-hmm. Seth Rollins said no. So what did they do? They went to CM Punk, who Seth Rollins can't stand.
Yes.
They went to... Cody is now feuding with Kevin Owens. Why is Kevin Owens feuding with Cody Rhodes? Because over Roman and the Bloodline. Well, now Sammy has to... KO has to look at Cody, who's done that, Sammy, who's done that, and Sammy, who's now teaming up with CM Punk, who KO doesn't like. Yeah. Sammy, who's best buds with the Usos. Like, so many stories. We need to... Okay, it won't be a Mania thing like Cody. CM Punk and Kevin Owens has to be a thing at some point.
That really does, but also CM Punk and Roman. I mean, who does the wise man side with? Like, what do we get here? What do we get out of this?
I do think they're setting up to be stated. I do think they're setting up a turn from Paul Heyman, like, where were you? You deserted me when I needed you most. The Bloodline 2.0 put me through a table, whatever. I think that turn is coming. I don't think you can say what most people are saying, that the first indicator was, oh, well, he came down in, like, his suit was red and black, just like Solo. And it's like, both of the Bloodlines come out in red and black. If that is a storyline point, it's a weak as fuck one.
I mean, it's a nice little touch to what they wore when they took him out, but I don't think it's a hint to.
But it doesn't work as a hint, because even like you see the OG Bloodline shirts and the Sammy Uso shirt, they're all in that same sort of red and black tribal font. Anyway, so he came out dressed as Roman just as much as he came out dressed like Solo.
Oh, no doubt. It's just that, they're trying to... I get what they're trying to touch back to, but... Yeah.
But I think, like... For Punk, unless he's doing it strictly for Heyman...
Which it sounds like
it sounds like he would be doing. Other than that, because he's the original Paul Heyman guy, and, your wise man was my... advocate, whatever, blah, 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 what he said forever ago, right?
Yes.
To what
end,
And
he asked Punk to save him, though, too. He told me, get me out of here, get me away from Solo, they're going to kill me.
But, like, if Roman was still on top, and Solo had broken away while Roman was still on top to try and, like, they were two empires fighting over the gold, I could see the value to CM Punk turning on Roman because he wants the title,
Yes,
right? But
granted.
Nobody on either side, as far as a goal, as far as an accomplishment, as far as a tangible thing, nobody on either side has anything for Punk to take. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I get he's got his loyalty to Paul Heyman, and if that's what's driving him, then cool. But then what?
I think it's just for this match. He's here as a hired gun. He doesn't like the bloodline. He's kind of had problems with a few of them anyways. And it's like, hey, I'm doing it for Paul.
I don't think, like you mentioned, we might get The Rock. I don't think we're going to get either one of them.
I don't think so either. I think they're going to stick more with the story of, like, who does Roman and Paul, or who does Paul Heyman side with, Roman or Punk. I think that's what they're going to lean into more. Honestly.
Well, I was going to lead to the only other people that hate Roman, hate anybody that associates with Roman, is Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins.
Yes.
Now, Kevin Owens has another story going on right now with Cody Rhodes. Seth Rollins is in an interesting spot because he denied them because it's Roman.
Yes.
They chose Punk over him, which is going to rub him the wrong way. But also, the other side has Bronson Reed on it, who destroyed Seth Rollins.
Exactly.
So, it's another one of those, Seth Rollins comes down, but for what reason? Because he's got problems with both sides. Why wouldn't he let them kill each other? Kevin Owens, on the other hand,
doesn't. So well, he does, but, not to the same extent.
He was taken out by the Bloodline when the Bloodline included Solo Sikoa, but most
Yes.
of the Bloodline that took him out, specifically Roman, is on the other side.
Exactly.
So,
they all still exist on that side of things.
I don't know, I'm interested. It's one of those things where we've gotten so much into the storyline with this one that, oh my god, what if this person comes? What if this person comes? And it's like, what if nobody comes and the match is just fucking awesome? Like,
yeah.
Like, let's pull back and have a few of those.
The more I thought about it and sit here and think about it, the more I tend to lean into that we don't see...
Anybody?
No, we don't see... The Rock here. We just see, the match is going to play out, and then from there, that's kind of going to be it. I think it's going to lean more into Paul Heyman and
it would be weird.
Sides with.
It would be weird because it would be weird because it would make it basically a trailer for Saturday night's main event. But Kevin Owens comes down to fuck up the match, and Cody stops him, or somehow you get some evening of the odds, this person comes from this side, this person comes from this side, 5-on-5 becomes 6-on-6, becomes 7-on-7.
Yes.
If they
and it
do
just
that,
keeps building.
If, say Kevin Owens was like, I'm not even going to let this match start, I'm going to fuck with Roman right away. Cody comes out, and from the off, they say, okay, this match is now 6 versus 6. I could roll with that.
Yeah,
I could.
It would fit. I can see it.
It would piss off everybody. It would be another case of why are you siding with Roman, the whole thing. But I'm kind of thinking the surprise in this match, I think you already hit it on the head a second ago, the surprise in this match would be if there was no surprise.
Yeah.
And the match just goes down. And if it just goes down with no surprises, I think you're right. I think Roman needs to get one back.
I think he needs it here, and that's, to me, what I think they're building towards.
I think they still have a. I think
Roman can't do it without help, and that's kind of going to be the story too.
Well, I don't think
him needing to take out Solo and take out the Bloodline and get the
I don't think you can tell the I don't think you can tell he can't do it without help in a multi-person match because both sides have all kinds of help.
But Roman was so reluctant to ask for help. I think that's what they're trying to get at with that. That's more what it is. Not that he needs the help, but that he refused so long to ask anybody for assistance.
I think there's and it's not necessarily going to be an issue in this match, but I think a problem they have going forward is more people are interested in seeing Roman versus Jacob than Roman versus Solo. And the rivalry is supposed to be Roman versus Solo. So I don't know if you have any ideas. I don't know how they square that off. Or just make Jacob Fatu take over.
Yeah, it feels like eventually when they do have that breakup, betrayal, whatever you want to call it, it's going to Take some creative times for them to do that, really.
Yeah. Because if you turn it around and have any of the other members, like Jacob Fatu, Tomatonga, Tongaloa, take leadership of Bloodline 2.0, none of them were ever in the original Bloodline. None of them did the turning, so to speak.
Exactly.
So the story isn't there for the match that people want to see, and the story is very much there for the match that people have already kind of soured on. So while the Bloodline stuff is awesome, they still do have some stuff to round out. They've got 100 stories they can tell. They got to figure out which stories they're telling, and they got to round it out a little bit. No way this isn't the main event.
I really feel like it has to be the main event, especially like with the What If of The Rock showing, even if he doesn't show to this, because they don't need him here. They really don't. They have enough of everything to tell here.
At a push, maybe. If it
and you got to see if everybody's fighting on the same page, because that was kind of the story they told at Crown Jewel, that, hey, we weren't together. We're not in unison yet. Roman hasn't apologized. He hasn't made good for his transgressions, and he's gotten help, but they still haven't really fixed anything with Roman yet.
He's gotten help because other people have found him help. Like,
yes,
what's it called?
Paul
like,
Heyman got him pumped. Jimmy. Yeah.
Jimmy came back. Jimmy's the only. Remember when Jimmy first came out and he said, "I'm the only one that still acknowledges you."
And that's the truth.
And then he started the whole pledge drive, so to speak. He went and got Jay. Him and Jay went and got Sammy. They all went to find other people. I can't remember who else they asked. I know they asked Seth Rollins, and they asked a couple of other people. But then nobody could find Paul, and the whole phone thing, and Sami Zayn throwing the phone. They got to acknowledge that at some point.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman brought in CM Punk. Like, all the people were brought in by somebody else. None of them are actually there for Roman. If you want to trace it backwards, they're all there for Jimmy.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. So that's my point. Roman hasn't asked for help. He hasn't come, back from the transgressions and issues he's caused. So that's like Kevin Owens' point is really not overstated there. It's true.
Yeah. I don't know. It's wild. It's mad. The only way I could see this not being the main event is if they were doing Cody and KO tonight. They might try to make that the main event.
Maybe, but like you said, I really think it just all plays into this has to be the main event, not just for the Punk and Roman combination, but also because of all the story that's built here and led here to them to be together. So,
yeah, and like
I have to feel like
they can't make Saturday night's main event. I know I sound like a dick when I'm saying it. They can't have it be their version of Battle of the Belts.
No.
They have to have
to make it worthwhile.
I mean, first of all, they're not taping it in advance. Let's be real for a second. But they have to.
It's not filmed after Rampage, which is after Ring of Honor, which is after Dynamite.
You know they're time shifting both of those shows on Saturday because of Survivor Series.
Mm-hmm.
Collision's on at 4, Rampage is on at 6.
Yeah.
So Rampage is going to be going up against the first hour of Survivor Series. Yeah. So put Rampage, AEW that shows no women, up against, here's a match with 10 women. Last time they did that, it was against NXT in the ECW arena and that awesome 10-woman tag.
Exactly. And I feel like we'll get more of that.
But no,
that kind of thing going forward.
They have to follow through on Saturday night's main event being a thing, because they want it to be the halfway point between a weekly show and a pay-per-view, but you have to give it some punch. You can't just build your next pay-per-view and whatever doesn't quite make the cut gets scraped onto Saturday night's main event, because then that's how people are going to see it. That's how Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens is there. I said
that's why they built this to not have it at Survivor Series and be like, oh yeah, see, we have enough at Survivor Series. We don't need it yet. We and like you said, they could have added more matches, but they're really good about knowing their audience, knowing their time, their value. Like, hey, let's get in, let's get out, and this is what we're doing.
I mean, there's a whole lot of whole divisions that aren't even on this show, but you got two
exactly.
Big
The tag titles have barely been defended. I mean, there's a lot of things that need work. And NXT, they have this whole big shakeup in the tag division going on there.
Yeah, I was going to say we're going to dig deeper into that next week when we talk about Deadline, but that's a whole other story altogether. I will say they've pretty successfully made the tag team division on SmackDown kind of a cornerstone.
Yes.
Around this Street Profits, DIY, Motor City. It's still fucking bizarre to me to see Motor City Machine Guns carrying around WWE belts.
No, it really is. It's
and
very
bizarre. I don't want to not feel like that, honestly.
No, because it's a good feeling to have to be like, holy shit, this is a reality.
You mentioned
who saw that on your bingo board? You know, like you said.
Exactly.
I didn't start this year off thinking hey, these guys are going to be champions.
It could have been, I don't know, just some brothers that happened to be Lucha. If Tony Khan wasn't a cunt.
Yeah. If they could just play ball.
Just bring in some tag teams from GCW for a night. It would be fucking hysterical. It would just be
thinking about if it really is not to punish Starks, but it's because of what Effie said of all things.
Well, you're fucking Starks anyway.
Yeah, well, of course they canceled all of his bookings.
You see, there's a bunch of people.
He just went and said, "Oh, I have all these great GCW bookings. I could have been taking bookings this whole time, and now I find this out, and now they cancel it." And they're like, "Oh, you could take any other booking you want, just not GCW."
You see what Matt Cardona did too, though. He said, "I've used my power of authority to make sure that guy's not on my show."
Yeah.
But here's the thing as well, though.
Which is funny, and I'm glad they had that on there because Matt is a fucking treasure, and I wish he wasn't WWE with this gimmick because him.
See,
and
here's the thing: if honestly, like all kidding aside, if they were going to do a GCW thing, it would be Cardona showing up at the Rumble because he's already got ties to the company and his girlfriend's here, and it would be a nice thing. Like it wouldn't be somebody random. No offense to anybody at GCW whose names I don't know because I don't watch GCW legend Bradshaw could show up in the Rumble. If Bradshaw shows up in the Rumble, I'm gonna be I'll pop. I don't even care. $80 for an autograph. You can fuck off.
You can fuck off, yeah.
Now, before we get to Survivor Series, we're gonna just touch on this because neither one of us is caught up on TNA. I don't think, but no. I'll hate to say it this way, but I'll give it some quick lip service.
I mean, for a Friday show,
for a Friday show, they're the B shows on TNA, but doesn't mean there's not some stuff to go in. On the kickoff, it'll be fun. Rosemary versus Xia Brookside versus Savannah Evans. Rosemary's awesome. Xia Brookside's a really, really bubbly babyface, and Savannah Evans is big. I hope Rosemary wins, which will surprise nobody.
No kidding. And that's just a normal triple threat anyways, so nothing really for it.
Nothing for it, but I like Rosemary. I'll watch.
I like Rosemary as well. I'd like to see her win here. I think it'd be fun to have her, especially with the NXT connection that she's got going. I'd like to see her be a little bit more of a credible threat and come back and get a chance to maybe make a few different challenges, especially with like her and Julia.
If they hadn't burned the bridge with AEW, Rosemary and Abaddon would be a lot of fun, but that's my kind of wrestling. All right, who had this on their bingo card? X Division champion Moose.
Yeah, that was
taking on Laredo Kid. I haven't.
See.
I have to repeat it once again. I haven't watched TNA the past couple of weeks. I'm a bit behind in stuff. I do know that Moose won the title. I think it's because Speedball got turned on by Trent Seven.
Which was still random and odd, but...
but it means we're going to get Trent Seven versus Speedball at some point, which I've seen in person before, so I'll take another round of that, please.
Yeah, no doubt.
But Moose versus Laredo Kid, he's going to eat Laredo Kid's lunch.
Which we knew was going to happen, so...
we already talked about him earlier. Mike Santana is in a singles match against Frankie Kazarian. Mike Santana has got his sights set on the world title eventually. Frankie Kazarian has crowned himself the king of TNA. It's just going to be a really good match, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And
I think Santana's going to win. I think Santana should win. I'm still a big fan of Frankie Kazarian. I like what he does. And I like
Kazarian. I liked him as the elite hunter. I think they had a lot of stuff to do with him. I mean, they didn't do anything with it, but I thought he could have been...
I love that for all the shit,
that role.
I love that for all the shit TNA gets, Frankie Kazarian decided TNA was a better option than AEW.
And for him, it was. I mean, it served him very well.
I mean, he's a TNA
He knew
original.
what TNA had to offer, and he knew what AEW had to offer. He saw the two, compared notes, and said, "Get me the fuck out of here."
I mean, the attendances are getting
comparable.
Yep. They tried to tout having a really, really good attendance in Chicago last night of, 4,000 people?
If even.
We saw this last month, another round of Josh Alexander versus Steve Macklin. This time it's a no DQ match. We saw the match they did before where he ended up zip tying his hands, and he told the referee, don't disqualify him, and he just fought with no hands.
Yeah,
Friggin' like
and that was
Jack
a lot of
Darby
fun.
Allin. Jacked Darby Allin. It's fine.
Yes.
Okay, sidebar. Josh Alexander, it came out like last week sometime, so this is kind of old news. Josh Alexander announced he's no longer taking indie bookings after 2024. They're doing,
interesting, huh?
I don't know what company it is, but they're doing a show just for him called Walking in a Weapon Wonderland.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a really strained pun, but I'll take it.
Yes, I'll take it.
But I mean, TNA wouldn't keep you from doing indie bookings.
No.
AEW wouldn't keep
you
you from taking any indie bookings unless it's GCW.
Yes. You don't want to do with those bad people.
Dare I dream?
I think you might be onto something. I mean, it is weird. I mean, why else would you not take anything?
And you know what? After I've said it for so long, like the whole idea of him teaming back up with All Ego Ethan Page and them having another tag run, I'm starting to shift my opinion a little bit as Josh Alexander could be one of those guys that gets to skip NXT.
He would be one that would certainly deserve it. I mean, he's not needed there at all.
I'm thinking like selfish mid-card match, but Josh Alexander versus Chad Gable.
Oh, yeah, something along those lines certainly would be
Get him
great.
in there with any of the technical guys. Josh, I mean, wasn't the very first Destiny show I was ever at. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list, it's fine. But very shortly afterwards, I saw Josh Alexander beat Pete Dunne for the Destiny Championship. So I know those two can go.
Yes.
I just really hope. I mean, he's playing heel here. I think Steve Macklin's going to win, and if he's sort of closing out a feud with him, and this is his swan song, and he's coming to WWE, that's a lot of people that don't pay attention to TNA, which is super unfortunate, probably won't realize what a get this would be for WWE.
Yeah, massive.
I hope it happens.
It's almost like, though, in a way, I feel terrible saying this, but, like, is there a point to bringing him in? Like, I know he has lots to offer, no doubt, but with everything being so...
You know what he could do?
Heavy-handed already?
Do you know what he could do? What was I going to say? I had a thought and it left my head. He's the kind of guy that could show up on Raw, answer an Intercontinental Open Challenge, get the shock win of who the fuck is this guy, and now he's got a belt. And he's the kind of guy that could reframe what you think of the Intercontinental Championship.
Okay, yeah, I get that. Just like Gunther did.
Yeah, and it's so funny.
He's a workhorse, but would they have enough time to establish into him to make him a recognized, like feat of wonder? Would he be an interest to people?
I would say throw a belt on him. Not treat him like he's some nobody from nowhere, but like don't give away too much about him. Oh my God, this guy. Where'd this guy come? This guy came out of the blue, and now he's carrying the belt. Who the fuck is this guy? And have him show have him show who he is through a shock title reign rather than on his way to a title. It doesn't always work, but I think he could do it because he plays up, especially with like the headgear and the singlet and whatnot. He plays up on the technical ground game, like I say, the Chad Gable, Kurt Angle type stuff. But then he has that ability to make you predict that that's what you're getting, and then, oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to do some high-flying shit too. I'm going to do some X Division stuff too. You want to brawl? I'll brawl all over the fucking building. Like,
yeah, we can go
He has
everywhere.
this idea of very quickly making you think he's one thing and then proving you wrong in the same instance. So, I don't know. If you want to go back to that old adage of... Right now it's Braun Breaker, which is a little bit different, which is not a bad thing. But that old adage of like, oh, the world title is the superstar title and the Intercontinental Championship is the wrestling title.
Yes.
Like, there's not a better option on the planet.
No,
Or,
and
no,
they
very
they
few, I should say.
they allowed it to be booked into that way with Gunther, with their plans, and
Sami
with,
Zayn even.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Josh Alexander versus Sami Zayn. Josh Alexander, if he's a face, versus Kevin Owens.
I mean, Josh Alexander
Versus anybody.
Yeah.
Versus Gunther.
You're not having a bad match.
All right. I think we're all broadly in favor. I think Steve Macklin takes this.
Well, I think you're right. Yeah, I think Macklin's going to take this. The one that I'm really excited for is the 2 out of 3 falls match for the Knockouts title. This is the rematch between champion Slamovich against Jordan Grace.
I think this is Jordan Grace's swan song.
Yeah.
And I don't say that in any kind of negative way because we think we're
me
getting
neither.
there, don't we?
Yeah, it really feels like this is it. This is going to be it here, so that we finally get the chance.
It was great last month, and it's going to be great tomorrow. Unfortunately, this is going to go out Thursday night. You guys are probably listening to it Friday morning, and this show is happening tomorrow night. So I hope you skipped to the end of the pod, even though you didn't know. Anyway, moving swiftly on.
You have to put in some chapters, let everybody tune into the right spot.
That's true.
But
I almost want to leave this as the way it is. Like, these ladies are awesome. The match is going to be awesome. They're going to break fucking heads.
Yeah, they're going to kill it with each other, and we're going to get something really cool in the meantime. So I think that's going to be badass, and that's exactly what we need, is just a really great women's match.
Because TNA does this sometimes, and they do the cool, simple stuff. If this is Jordan Grace's swan song, I think they give her moment, her goodbye to the fans, or whatever the case may be. Because they kind of like NXT used to, like after the women's Iron Man, you had all 4 of the horsewomen out there, and they all sort of did their curtain call type of idea. I think you get that for Jordan Grace. Jordan Grace, along with 1 or 2 other people, but Jordan Grace has carried TNA on her back in the past couple of years. Like, let's be real for a second.
She really has, and she's put on some of the best matches. Can't understate that for damn sure. So
dragged them through several, I don't know, times where the publicity around TNA wasn't always the greatest. Obviously, the Scott D'Amore thing was really unfortunate. I've met Scott D'Amore before. You can take a wild guess as to where.
Yes, I could not tell. Check it off my
Spaz
bucket list.
It's fine. It's not for the titles, but the brand new TNA Tag Team Champions, who just re-upped their deals with TNA, apparently, the Hardys, teaming with Ace Austin while Chris Bay is off healing his neck. Our well wishes are with him, obviously.
Yes, obviously, and terrible that they, people are like, oh, TNA is paying for the injuries. People are donating for all the bookings that he can't take, for all the
we
don't realize
just don't
that,
be dicks.
People
are trying to help because that's what human beings do. Taking on the really, really eclectic team of the Rascals and Kushida. I like Kushida. I like the Rascals. I like Ace Austin. I like the Hardys. This is going to be fun.
This is going to be great, but I like that they're keeping Ace Austin busy.
Yeah, of course.
In the meantime, they didn't just let him, your partner's gone, so you're fucked.
Well, before like,
we've had that happen so many times in wrestling, as you know, and it's
specifically
always
in, like, WWE's super guilty of it. Let's zero in on it for a second. But to remember, before Jay White came to TNA and formed his little Impact version of the Bullet Club, which included Ace Austin and Chris Bay, which became the ABC, Ace Austin was a hell of a fixture in the X Division.
Yes, he was.
So let him do some singles stuff. Whoever the champion is at the time, let him have a shot at the main title. He probably won't win. Sorry to be a dick, but put him up there, remind you who he is. It's not any type of good way thinking about Chris Bay getting hurt, but it is an opportunity to show that an individual can stand on their own. Now, am I shooting myself in the foot by saying that while we talk about this awesome 6-man that we're talking about? Kinda, but also
but not in the worst way.
Right before Chris Bay's injury happened, they were doing a whole lot with ABC and the Hardys and just sort of not little brothering them, but kind of like, let's go.
These are our guys.
Let's go nose to nose, and then we'll be on your side for a couple of 8-mans and whatever. I hate to say it, because I mean it in a positive way, but it doesn't matter who wins this. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I think the Hardys and Austin win only because the Hardys have the belts at the moment, and you don't want your champions losing a lot.
No, you
But the
certainly
alternative
don't.
to that would be Ace Austin getting pinned, which you also don't want while his partner's out, blah, 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 blah. The Rascals are Teflon. Like, they won't lose anything by losing, and Kushida's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, the Rascals really are the ones that could probably get away with the loss the most in this.
Yeah.
Funny enough.
I'm really bummed that their interaction in NXT was so short.
Yeah, and I mean, the comeback was such a heartfelt moment to have the betrayal of Wesley, but it's sad that West didn't get the North American title out of it, or like, you know what I mean? Like, he's just kind of still.
It's kind of a bummer that Zachary Wentz had the X Division title for 5 minutes, and they couldn't just, like, not change it, obviously, but just have that title on the line at the NXT show.
Yeah,
I thought
it should have been on the line.
They could have played with that a little bit more, but I also get that.
Was that Halloween Havoc?
That was
No,
that was
before
No Mercy.
That. Yeah, No Mercy.
Yeah. That was the first time that they had there's an NXT show and a TNA show on this, because he won it the night before at the Friday show.
Yeah,
and then he brought it to the Sunday show.
And that's why I was like, oh, they definitely should have defended it, especially since he won there.
Yeah, that's when he won. He won Ultimate X.
Yeah, and know what I'm saying, but he also won on Sunday.
Yes.
So he beat West, so he really should have had the title on the
problem
line.
With that, though, is as much as I would love to... Oh, my God, look at the amazing week that Zachary Wentz had. If they were going to put that title on the line, the first time that title has been defended on a WWE show, they would have wanted time to advertise it. And rightfully so.
And rightfully so.
Unfortunate. Like, if the shows were a week apart, it would have been different. If shows were a week apart, he was like, look what I did. You can't do anything on your own. Look what I did on my own. And it's like, cool, put it on the line next week. Like, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that would have been.
And you can't blame them, because that would be. It's like when the NXT Women's Championship was on the line with Jordan Grace, when those champions fought. They wanted time to advertise it. So I get it. It would have been cool. It would have been a shock thing on the night. If Wes Lee had won, they still have to break the mold of somebody from one company wins the title from the other company at some point.
Yes, it's gonna.
But they would have they would have wanted to advertise that ahead of time. And I get that they couldn't have done that then, but it would have been nice. He had the belt though, and he used it as a weapon. And Trey Miguel was out there in his corner and all that kind of thing. I do think, not that I want to pluck everybody from TNA because it's really not fair. I do think if you get a reunited all three of the Rascals on the main roster in WWE, that'd be fantastic.
That would be a main roster deal.
Imagine if Big E got cleared. And
New Day versus Rascals.
New Day versus the Rascals. Man, fucking WWE could show AEW how to do a trios division.
Yeah,
anyways,
no kidding.
Moving swiftly on. A little bit of fun because it's Thanksgiving weekend. The 6-way Thanksgiving Turkey Bowl match. Winner gets a title shot, I think, but the loser is the person that gets pinned, and they have to wear the turkey suit.
Yeah, they got to wear the gobbledygooker.
Joe Hendry, Eric Young, Hammerstone, Brian Miles, PCO, and John Schuyler. John Schuyler's a half of a tag team that's mostly seen as a joke. They're going to put him in a turkey suit, and it'll probably be Joe Hendry that gets the pin, just so that Joe Hendry can have a win.
Yeah, and he can use that as an upcoming match for himself.
Hammerstone, I would really love Hammerstone to come down to the ring wearing his current Destiny World Championship, but I don't think that's going to be a thing.
That would be badass, right?
It's fine. And in the main event, it's going to be a hell of a match, and I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that Nick Nemeth is retaining, but it's Nick Nemeth versus Eddie Edwards. It's just going to be a really good wrestling match, isn't it?
Yeah, I think all in all it's going to be a good match, but the story here is certainly not up to what I've seen anyways from it. Like, it's nothing that's like, hey, I know it'll be a good match, so there's that. I just wish there was a bit more with Nick as champion that was grabbing me currently. It's like, hey, he's really good, which we know he is, but besides that, there hasn't been a lot of like story elements that I've been caught on fire with him yet. And that's
but here's the thing: there might be a little system dysfunction.
Ooh, it might be
because Moose is in the mid card and Eddie's in the main event.
Yeah,
but Moose is supposed to be the leader of the system.
We'll see what happens. I mean, egos get crushed and things happen, as you know.
Yeah. At least it's not. Actually, you know what? I was going to say Brian Myers is in the turkey match, so they're all in matches.
Yes.
Dirty Dango.
I could see Brian Myers having to wear the turkey outfit as well. So
yeah, he's He's not quite the Miz, is he? He's the kind of guy that you want to see in the turkey suit. But I would want to see Karrion Kross make the Miz wear the turkey suit.
Yes, that's the kind of thing. Like, you know,
I don't care. I said
they
it earlier.
lost the
I can't
match,
believe
but they make the Miz wear the turkey suit. Like,
I
that
can't
kind
believe
of stuff.
Final Testament plus Miz equals something that's working.
I know, and like I said,
it should
having
work.
Miz go ahead and turn around and be like, "Oh, I have to wear the turkey suit because we lost the match," really, like that kind of shit, and him just making him do shit like that
and
constantly.
Scarlett beats the shit out of him.
Yeah, you know, like when he got kidnapped, they're like, "Oh, he's probably dead already." Like, I'll give it like a minute.
So
but,
fucking
like,
good.
I really don't have time for this. Like, I have baseball bats.
Okay. I know we
I
know we usually say this about baby faces, right? We usually say it about somebody like R-Truth. But
Yes.
we don't deserve the Miz.
No.
We really don't. Like, the guy is the epitome of, I will make myself look like an absolute pile of shit if that's what the story needs.
Yes.
And we need more people like that. Not a lot of people like that.
And it
in
made
AEW,
sense
just
with
put it
him
out there.
turning on R-Truth. I mean, you got a
But then he went
doofus
back
that...
but then he went back to R-Truth to save him from the
to save
from
himself
the Wyatt family, and Truth decked him.
Yeah, which
And
was
then
a great
forgot
thing
that,
for
Pete-
Truth to do, because you didn't want Truth to be like, oh, by the way, he's gonna trust him again because he's an idiot. You know, it was like,
But then he
no,
forgot
that's not the case.
Pete Dunne's name is Butch.
Yeah.
Well, let's be fair. We don't deserve R-Truth either. Let's be
No,
real
he's
for a
always
second.
been fantastic. And talk about black don't crack. My God, that man looks younger and younger by the day. So, however he's pulled that one off, if it's vitamin E or what.
Yeah, Tony doesn't have all of them. Oops, did I say that out
Nope, he
loud?
doesn't.
Did I say that out loud?
How do you feel about Black Champion Spaz? Because
I don't see color, and apparently that makes me a bad person now.
that makes you
So,
a very bad person.
I mean, when I see Sasha Banks, I vomit, so I mean I see green.
Yeah. Someone will call you a racist for that one, but we know the truth.
She's trash. She's got more forehead than me.
Oh, well, she's had a few good matches. Come on now. You know, she's had one or two good bouts because...
She's had good matches when she was in the ring with good people that could pull her to good matches. Fuck off.
Exactly.
And on
And
that
that's
note,
the
Jake, tell
thing
them where to find you.
Can't get away from enough, right? You can find us after Survivor Series talking about it live. That's right. On YouTube, it'll be myself and Spaz. We'll be reviewing it. Come hang out with us.
Fuck, I didn't plug
YouTube.com.
that at all at the beginning, did I?
I forgot
I'm
all
an
about it
asshole.
as well. But hey, youtube.com/countdownended, or you can find me on Twitter at countdownended once again as well. Go ahead and hit me up on either, and we'll be live after Survivor Series on YouTube to go ahead and discuss what the hell happened in those Wargames matches. So,
And if you're not able to join us live, I will eventually be putting the live stream up as an audio on my audio platforms, but not on YouTube, because if you're on YouTube, you should be watching it on Jake's channel.
Yay!
And you guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. This has been Jake. This has been me rambling a lot and Jake rambling a lot and keeping the show on track for me. Thanks, buddy.
You know
it. Survivor Series, War Games, 1 year of CM Punk, a little bit of Turning Point, a whole lot of shitting on AEW. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all of these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but right now, me, Super Sexy Jake, we are out of here. Bye, guys.
War Games.